Hi, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Jessica.
Welcome to Cluedunnit, the podcast where we make wild guesses about fake TV crimes.
Without any clues, context, or apparently accuracy. All right, let's find out.
Who was right?
Who was wrong?
And who is dead?
Well, you know, it's interesting. They've done Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
Right.
When are they going to do Shakespeare and dragons? I mean,
Yes.
that's not Game of Thrones, but
Well, I mean, Shakespeare has fairies.
yeah.
Yeah, the fairies are in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
Like, that's where all the fairies are. And in Shakespeare and Hathaway, Luella Shakespeare calls her car Robin, which is Robin Goodfellow or Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream.
Right.
So, I mean, like, okay, so let me ask you this then. What character and what form should they be in this episode? Like, if there was a dragon, would, like, the dragon be the, like, 315 train from Suffolk coming in? What would the White Walkers, like the with the White Walkers, just be the Americans coming in for tourist season?
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh, that is so true. Yeah, I think you win. I think you nailed it.
There we go. Yay! Well, White Walkers okay, so White Walkers aren't Witcher, though. Like, what Witcher characters should we bring in to, like, haunt Jaskier in this episode?
There are so many things that he names in those books that I'm like, what is that word even? Is that something that we actually talk about in fantasy? Or those words that we...
Is this a made-up thing just for this?
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know a whole... And I didn't honestly look it up.
You did not make notes when you read the Monsters Manual in Dungeons & Dragons in middle school, did you?
No, sorry. So I guess I should have just asked you. Well, I think I did occasionally ask you, what is this? Is this a real thing? I mean, there's a vampire, which I was like, yes, I know what a vampire is.
Sure, thank goodness.
There is a Beauty and the Beast storyline.
Right.
And I was like, yep. There's a Camelot storyline, which is really weird. And then I was like, okay, sure. But yeah, like there are things that are like centipedes with heads and creepy, strange, like bug things that seem kind of mammal-like. It's so gross. There are so many gross characters things that, you know, and then there are gigantic tarantulas that the Witchers are out killing.
Let's just stick with dragons. What would a dragon be? Like, obviously the dragon's lair would have to be like Shakespeare's globe. Like, it would, like, that would be its kingdom. I just don't know.
Or you mean like, well, they're in Stratford upon Avon in this episode, so it would have to be at just the RSC, whatever that main stage is called. Is that
not the globe?
No, it isn't. It has a different name.
See, this is Jacob the American. This is why I'm the White Walker coming through and being like, Shakespeare is the same everywhere. We'll keep it with White Walkers anyways. And we're just gonna cross everything. We're gonna cross Game of Thrones with Shakespeare, with Witcher, and all of these things, because this week we are doing Shakespeare and Hathaway from the BBC with a very special guest appearance from Jessica's favorite bard of all time, Jaskier.
Yay! Yes, Joey Batey is in this episode. I'm so excited.
Which is season 1, episode 4.
Yes, that's what we're watching.
Season 1, episode 4, Rough Magic. Which
Yes.
So even though I am an American White Walker when it comes to Shakespeare, I will say that is from The Tempest, Act 5, when Prospero says he abjures this rough magic and he, like, breaks his staff and all that kind of stuff.
And puts his book in the water.
Yes.
Because he's going to go back to the aristocracy and leadership where, you know, he'd been kicked out and was exiled.
Yes, he'd
and
been
he
exiled to this island.
Super bitter about it.
Right. So, not obviously, but there's probably going to be some kind of tie-in for that.
There is magic in this episode.
Oh, yes.
So,
what's the log line? Here's the
log line is Jill Shiplake dies after being picked from the audience to assist magician Lawrence Prospero. Lawrence Pross in a stage trick. Lawrence believes that rival conjurer Anton Duke, like Duke Anton.
Anton Duke.
Sabotaged the trick and consults Luella and Frank. They discover that wealthy Jill had argued with cash-strapped spouse Stefan, and CCTV seems to incriminate him, but the detectives find that he has been framed and must work out why and by whom.
Okay.
This might all be in the, like, pre-title sequence.
I hope so, because they just gave us everything we might possibly need.
I'm sorry.
No. Well, they didn't.
That was the
we
logline.
still have to figure out who the like person that framed them was. But clearly, we have. Well, I don't know. Whatever. This may all get cut. But geez, Louise, give us everything in that log line, why don't
Yeah,
you, IMDb?
I know.
My goodness.
I'm sorry.
This is another thing we have to talk about for this.
Okay.
So just FYI, gentle listener, we're going to start doing a more regular series this season. We're gonna hang our hats a little bit more on Shakespeare and Hathaway this season. The problem with this, and the problem with us doing Shakespeare and Hathaway, is twofold. One, which is not really a problem, which was we've done it in the past. So there are a couple episodes that we're gonna have to skip, and we're not really going to be able to do because we watched them all the way through and we know who did it. Apologies if we skip your favorite episode. But the other thing about this is that Jessica has a habit of watching TV while she falls asleep. And she tends to watch a lot of mystery shows. So in addition to me guessing on who the actual criminal of the episode was, we're also going to, Jessica's bets will all be a little hedged because we're never sure how much of this show she will have remembered.
Yeah, I know.
So
Like,
part of the guessing will be...
I think I did see this, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Nope. I was asleep. Don't remember.
Exactly. So we're also going to guess how much of this show does Jessica actually remember.
We're going to make a prop bet.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like an over-under.
Yeah.
I remember
20 minutes, up to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're gonna set the point as to like when did Jessica fall asleep in this episode? And there are whole episodes which BBC thinks that we've seen, but neither of us like, I don't know what happened. I didn't see it. It just rolls through. It just streams through. And Jessica's like snoring on the couch.
Yeah. It's that's called binging. The cat's sometimes watching it.
Someone in the household is watching it.
Yeah. They just don't have enough paw power to like press pause and then it stops. Oh, pause. LOL.
So we're doing Shakespeare and Hathaway. Jessica doesn't know what episodes of these she's seen. I know which episodes I've seen. But Jessica also knows that she has seen a lot of The Witcher, which she loves.
I love it. And I've read all the books.
Yes, she has, which is well done. But so tell us why this episode is especially fond for you.
Well, because when seeing The Witcher, watching the show, I watched this and then I watched, some of the making of or interviews of different actors, way back. And I remember watching Joey Batey talking to some interviewer.
Joey Batey plays the bard Jaskier in The Witcher, who toss a coin to your Witcher.
And he's a guest star in this episode.
Yes.
And he plays a lute in The Witcher. We don't know if he's going to play one in this episode. I kind of doubt it. And by the way, his character in this episode in Shakespeare and Hathaway is called Colum, which is supposed to be sort of like Caliban. It's like a takeoff on Caliban. So we're getting a lot of the Tempest in this.
Clearly.
And then some Winter's Tale. I'll see if you can spot that a little later on.
If there's a bear, I think that's probably all I remember from Winter's Tale.
So Joey Batey says in one of these Witcher interviews that when he auditioned for the role of the bard, he called his sister and said, I really want this part. It's like meant for me. And she's like, what do you mean? And he described it to her, even though he probably had an NDA, but he described it to her. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's made for you. If you don't get this part, they are so stupid. And he was like, I know. Right? And then they cut off and I was like, why? Okay. Meanwhile, I am reading the book. I've kept this book for so long. I'm going like page by page through it. The library, I'm pretty sure, has by this point charged me for the book because I haven't returned it because I'm like, I know I'm never going to finish this. I'm never going to buy it.
It is a doorstop of a book.
It is a doorstop of a book. And this isn't even this is one of a trilogy. Anyway, I'm going through it. I know I'm totally late to the party because everybody watched the TV series with Mark Rylance in 2015. Everybody saw it on Broadway. They saw it on the West End. They read all the books. They love it. It's so great. But I was late to the party. I saw it at the library a couple months ago and was like, oh, yeah, I'll read that. That sounds good. I want to get on the band or get on the train with that. And I've been wondering all this time, like, who are our, in all these British shows that we're watching, where are the Wolf Hall connections? Like, who was in this show? Like with the Mark Rylance one, or even the but I didn't really look into it that hard. So all of a sudden, I am looking through the guest stars for this episode. I find, holy moly.
Your researcher pre-cheating, yes.
Yes, Joey Batey is in this episode, and I'm so excited. And I'm like, oh yeah, what is his background? And I see, holy crap, he played Mark Smeaton, the character Mark Smeaton in the RSC, West End, and Broadway productions of Wolf Hall. Mark Smeaton is a real-life human being from the time of Henry VIII. He was a musician who was invited to be in Anne Boleyn's court, and we think that, or the author of Wolf Hall is, I haven't gotten this far in the books, but I believe it is probably going to be suggested that because of a snub that this social climbing musician this makes in real life to the lead character, the hero of the story, Thomas Cromwell, he gets basically kidnapped and tortured into telling stories about Anne Boleyn so that she can be framed for adultery and treason, and 4 other men can also be framed for adultery and treason. Mark Smeaton, he is the musician and a lute player who gets framed.
I love that those are 2 separate things. Musicians, lute players, those are separate things.
Specifically a lute player who he's the one who, like I said, he gets framed for it. But he's also this like commoner. He gets beheaded too. Among all of these, like historically, he was beheaded. It's so weird. Like this weird.
To live in an era when you can just behead any lute player you
wanted. Yes, he's probably like the only musician who, I don't know, somebody probably dig it up and tell me who's other musicians who have been beheaded. But I feel like he's probably the only musician who's been beheaded in the practice of like trying to get like a queen, beheaded or like save an empire.
That is who we need in this. We need a beheaded ghost musician wandering around Shakespeare and Hathaway. That is what we need. Please let this happen.
Yeah. Or, I mean, he should have been somebody in Harry Potter.
Yes, 100%.
A lute player. But okay, so I find out that Joey Batey played Mark Smeaton, and so when this YouTube video that I watched where he says I was perfect and his sister says you're perfect for this role for Jaskier in the Bard, is because he has already been years 3 years playing this role in Wolf Hall. And so he is, everybody knows him in the entertainment industry as the Bard, as a lute player. So he already knew how to play the lute when they put him on screen as Jaskier.
What a great thing to be typecast as. We need an annoying lute player. Get that guy.
Yes. Yeah, because that's the other thing. He's kind of a little bit of an annoying character, at least to Geralt, he's annoying. Yes. But yeah, he annoys the crap out of Thomas Cromwell too, and in Wolf Hall, and so that's why he gets his head cut off.
All right, let's bring it back. So we're doing Shakespeare and Hathaway.
Yes.
Season 1, episode 4, This Rough Magic. Mm-hmm. Just to recap for anybody who didn't listen to our other episode about Shakespeare and Hathaway, tell us about the main characters.
Okay, so the main characters are Frank Hathaway, who is played by Mark Benton, who's a character actor. He actually did he was the lead in a famous commercial series, 8 commercials for the Nationwide Building Society, and the commercials.
That sounds fake.
I know it does, but the commercials are directed by Armando Iannucci, who created Veep and a ton of other political
I would
TV
love
shows.
To see these commercials.
Yeah, I know. It's so insane. He was also on a dancing show, kind of like Dancing with the Stars, or not Dancing with the Stars, like who say, you hope you can dance. No. It's definitely the celebrity dancing show.
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, that is Dancing with the Stars. Okay. He also played Montfleury in the Peter Dinklage Cyrano, but I think I said that last time. And he's done a bunch of other guest stars on other mystery daytime mystery shows.
And his character name is Frank Hathaway, correct?
Yes.
So he's at the setup of the show is that he runs a failing private investigations business. He used to be a member of the police force. Now he's retired, and he runs this private investigative firm, which is failing until Luella Shakespeare comes around in episode 1 and partners with him. So tell us about her.
So she is played by Jo Joyner, and she is an award-winning EastEnders soap opera star. She played the legendary...
Or as I learned today, it's not just a soap opera. In the UK, it is a continuing drama.
Yes. Yeah, that was a new term for both of us
Yeah.
today. I was really... I don't know why. I was like, oh, learn something every day. Really excited about that.
Your Anglophile really came out on that one.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
that's what they call it over there? Great.
Yeah. And she's done so many guest stars on TV, but she's beloved for that role. And now for Shakespeare and Hathaway,
Yes.
where she plays Luella Shakespeare, like I said. And then there's a third character who is a regular on this show, which much beloved. We cannot, finish this segment without mentioning Patrick Walsh McBride, who plays Sebastian Brunel, who is Frank's assistant and an aspiring actor. That's the character. He's
Right,
an
the character is
aspiring
aspiring
actor.
actor,
He
yeah.
wants to do something at the RSC, and he occasionally has to help out the investigators by undertaking undercover roles. He's done guest stars on other shows.
And by occasionally every episode.
Yeah, pretty
every
much.
episode he has to go into some sort of disguise.
Yeah. So, okay, when are we going to make prop bets? In the next part, the next segment?
Let's do it in the next. I mean, we could do it now, but let's do it in the next segment where we
Okay.
talk about what character he will have
Because
to
I
dress up
think
as.
we should definitely do something
100%.
like that in that. The episode is written by Kit Lampert, who is a Welsh writer.
That is such a perfect British Welsh name.
Yeah.
Kit Lampert. Yes.
Yeah. He is a postgraduate of the BBC's Continuing Drama Series Writers Academy. That's a lot of S's.
That's a lot of us.
Lot
That
of
sounds very impressive.
Plural possessives. And so then we learned that that's how we connected with the soap opera term, because he's written episodes as part of that Writers Academy. He's written episodes for EastEnders, Doctors, Casualty, and Holby City. And so
I'm going to start a rumor that he didn't actually write all of his episodes, that actually they were ghostwritten by Shakespeare.
like Christopher
Kit Marlowe. Yes, that's what I'm saying here. I'm going to say like Shakespeare came from beyond the grave to actually write Kit Lampert's
Oh my
episodes.
gosh, maybe this guy is fake. Maybe he doesn't actually exist. Maybe he's made up by Jude Tyndall, who is the creator of this show.
Yes. This is just, she's like, I can't write all of them. I can't take credit for all of them. So I'm just going to come up with this Kit Lampert. It's totally
Yes.
fake. Kit, I know that you're real.
I
Or,
love that.
You know what?
Well,
I
there's a
don't know that
picture
you're
of
real.
him on the internet.
AI. It's AI. This is my stance. Kit Lampert is actually fake. He's yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I like that idea. He's also written on, of course, Father Brown, because Jude Tyndall also wrote on Father Brown. He's written on The Corner. Of course, this show. He's written on Critical. He's written on Crash. He's written on Sister Boniface Mysteries, because of Jude Tyndall. And he's written on Death in Paradise. And he has period pieces and a book in development. And he's a playwright. So we're going to see a lot more from him, I'm sure, in some other show that we watch. The director of this episode, I'm really excited to see this. I think she probably has some notable style. I want to look out for that in this episode when we watch. Since we are a rewatch show, I wanted to kind of like take that in. She has a very impressive resume. She's a multiple award-winning writer-director. She started in her television career writing for Doctors and Casualty, TV drama stuff.
EastEnders. No. Continuing drama.
And she has typical guest directing on Vera, Agatha Raisin, this show. But it's interesting. She is now directing and writing on like full series. So like she gets the whole second season of a show.
Oh, wow.
Or like the whole first season because she wrote it and now she's directing it too. So
Dang.
She had 4 episodes of a show called Suspect, 8 episodes of a show called Before We Die, another episodic show called Hollington Drive, and then she wrote and directed a show called The Drowning. I hope we get to see those, that they come out to the US. And she's written and probably written and directed several acclaimed and award-winning short films. Like, I've never seen somebody with so many short films in their resume. And these films have literally been in thousands of international film festivals. Papa, Ornamental, I Don't Care, Night Armor, Man Up, one called Holy Cannoli, which is being turned into a feature film called Pizza Face. So I'm feeling a little Italian
Feel a little Italian
something
coming of age teen thing
happening.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. She has a lot of support in her background from different writing and directing programs, including the Edinburgh International Festival, the Screen Yorkshire's Triangle Program, the BFI Think, Shoot, Distribute, the Bureau Script Development Program Scheme. So she has all this support behind her, and so she is now sort of paying it forward. She has created and set up this program called Short Flicks, which is a new initiative that seeks to train and seek and find and nurture raw and new filmmaking talent from socially diverse and underrepresented backgrounds, and to make 5 times more short films with them and showcase them on Sky One. And she's already executive produced a ton of them. You can find them in her resume. So we're going to see a lot more, exciting work, not just hers, but
From
others.
all these people that she's helping nurture.
That she's, that she's mentoring. And she also is a mentor for actors. She co-ran a program called Playing Up at the National Youth Theater, which a lot of people in this show have National Youth Theater background in this particular episode, actually. So that's
Excellent.
exciting too.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be back in a second, and we'll do some guessing, and we'll see if Jessica remembers anything about this show.
It'll be magic.
So may I just say that 2 things occurred to me watching the opening of this episode here. Mm-hmm. One, they do not lean into cozy or funny in this opening. My Lord, the magician welcomes you to this show, which is a night of magic and the macabre, and I'm just like, the tone for the beginning of this is completely unlike. It is spooky. It is like, bleh, it is like, it is gross.
Yeah, he's kind of dirty a little bit, or not.
No, he's not dirty. He's very clean and well presented, but it's just like there is just a lot of dread. They do
dirty dread is how I felt.
Yes,
I guess, and
lots of dread.
And then there's the young woman that's next to him. I guess his daughter, who's the magician's assistant,
this is Maggie,
and in those amazing sequin shorts.
Yeah, some great sequin shorts.
2 color sequin shorts.
Let's hold off to talk about the costumes till the appropriate costume time. But yes, she's wearing some great.
She looks like she's nervous and dreading.
She looks nervous too.
But the very first moment you see the audience and they're all just chatting waiting
away.
to come back from the break and then Joey Batey, who apparently is like the stage manager, is peeking through the curtain and looking out at somebody who is standing in the audience, like head usher or something maybe, who is flashing a light at him.
Covering a flashlight and uncovering it to flash and let them know that they're ready to go with Act 2.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, if Jessica could have any more of a crush on Joey Batey, this is it. Because he plays a stagehand in this episode. So he's slouched on and he's just like, okay, we're ready to go for Act 2. And she was like, there he is. There he is.
I don't know that it was a crush. I just thought, I just like his acting. I think he's delightful.
Yes, exactly. You think he's delightful.
Yes. Well, I think Sebastian is delightful too.
Fair enough. So, anyways, but yes, one good way to win Jessica's heart: be a stagehand. I should know. I was.
Okay.
So Joey Batey is a stagehand. He says they're good to go, and so Prospini, or whatever his name, Pros, and his assistant.
By the way, his first name is Lawrence or Larry, and people were saying in the trivia notes on IMDb that is probably a reference to Laurence Olivier, who was also known as Larry to his friends, and did a lot of Shakespeare.
Well, really? Laurence Olivier, known for his Shakespeare? I'll have to check that out. In any event,
okay.
So they walk on stage and they say, "Look, we're gonna do this. This is not for the faint of heart. Please leave." They pan over the audience and you see there's a wicked man with a wicked goatee. He has very sculpted facial hair and a goatee, and he's sitting next to a blonde lady. And the blonde lady says, "Oh, you get over yourself." Basically, that's her attitude. And he's like, I'm not getting on stage with that prat. And then there's also this like married couple, Jill and her husband. Jill is a redhead who looks like one of your favorite assistants in the Doctor Who series, but is not. And then she gets called on stage. They're going to do a trick with the Iron Maiden. The magician pops a balloon on the Caliban, like slouches out and hands him a balloon. I love it when actors always pretend not to enjoy being on stage or in the spotlight.
Yes, right. Because, for sure.
Like, you know that he's completely comfortable on stage. He's like, he gets to walk out, slouches out, gives him a balloon, pops it on the spikes while Jill puts on this amazing cape. And like this cape, I'm wondering why she has to put on this cape. And I'm wondering if this means, like, if this is some kind of like dodge that maybe Jill didn't act. Well, no, I think she actually did die. In any event, Jill gets into the Iron Maiden. They're talking about, don't worry, there's nothing to fear. He shuts the Iron Maiden. There's screams from inside. The husband calls out for Jill. Blood pulls out the side. The head usher rushes on stage, and Cal goes and rings down the curtain. And then we get to credits, which is where we stop because we've got a crime and the credits, which means we have to guess.
Yes.
Before we can guess, though, because we have to know, Jessica, how confident are you that you don't remember this episode?
I am fairly confident because if I had seen this, I would have remembered seeing Joey Batey.
Would you have recognized him?
Yes.
Okay. So you say like you're more than 90% sure that you have not seen this episode.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. That's the bar for that. I'll accept that. Because I don't think you looked surprised enough and unclear enough. So I'll take the over on that. So yeah, I also don't think that you remember this. We'll find out how accurate your guess is, though. Do you have any guesses?
Okay, I want to come up with the most baroque plot line ever.
Please.
Because I want it to, I want us to give all the Christies to this
all
episode.
The Christies for this episode.
Because
yes.
which is going to be a new thing for us.
Yes,
we're going to look at baroque plot lines and we're going to say on a scale of 1 to 10 Christies, Agatha Christies.
Right.
How baroque was is this plot line?
Of course, 10 Agatha Christies meaning the most baroque.
Yeah. And the most like Agatha Christie,
yes.
I guess.
But we've also only got 40 minutes left on this. So it's not going to be like, I think just by format.
Yeah,
I don't
those
think
80-minute shows, you really get a lot.
You really get to get baroque on this.
So yeah. Okay. So I want to say that, we read the log line and there
Some
is
sort of framing, it looks like.
There's a framing of the husband framing of the magician, right? And then there's also framing of the husband because the dead lady had money and the husband was arguing with her about it. So there's two sort of motivations going on there. But we also had that guy, like you said, in the audience who was like, I would never get on stage with that prat.
Right. I think he's the rival magician.
Oh, you think that's...
Yeah, he's got his facial hair, his goatee, and his sculpted goatee, and his just attitude. And like the magician asks everybody to look under their seat for the card to get a volunteer for the audience, and he doesn't even budge. He doesn't look under his seat at all. He's like, I don't care. I'm not going to do it. So he's the rival magician. So I don't think it's him.
Okay. Because I thought that blonde girl that was sitting next to him would be somebody, and I suppose she could have been the rival guy's magician's assistant.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, well, you can't ruin my guesses before they're even out, Jacob.
I'm so sorry.
Can't go around correcting things.
There's no corrections. I don't know anything.
Corrections and omissions. Yeah, neither of us know anything. So
you say.
I'm 90% sure I know absolutely nothing. I think Joey Batey did this.
Oh, you think Cal did it? Okay.
Yeah, I think Caliban, I don't know. In The Tempest, he's just kind of a dude. He tries to like have one over on Prospero, but it all goes wrong.
Yeah.
And the Dukes, when they're shipwrecked, they come to apologize and they feel bad and peace is made. Okay, so I am going to say this is a episode, we haven't seen it yet, but there's a secret bard society.
Ooh.
That is going to, that has it out for the Magicians Society. And so they don't like the rival magician. They don't like this.
They don't like the magician on the stage. They don't like any magician. They're
Any
like,
magician.
We should have musicians, not magicians. Musicians on the stage.
On stage, they don't like the confusion that people have
Right.
in the English language with musician versus magician.
Right. You just can't be lying to your audiences. It just confuses them.
Yeah, just, play something that looks like magic because your fingers are flying all over
Yes,
a
that's
keyboard or
making
guitar
music
or
is the real
something.
magic
Yeah,
here.
Yeah. So I think there's a secret society that is pooling their funds in order to frame and undercut magicians. And so they are going to try to frame that guy on stage, Lawrence Pross. And then they're also going to try to get the Duke, Anton Duke,
Right.
framed and in on it. Like they're going to exploit this rivalry in order to be this back alley, like
To get rid of all magicians in this town.
Yeah. In England.
In all of England. I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
These are some organized musicians.
Yeah. Yeah. They organize.
Yeah.
They have a union.
They know they can work together.
Yeah.
They know how to play in harmony.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They know they need everybody in their talents
Right.
for each thing. So, yeah. And I think that the blonde woman who was sitting next to Anton Duke is actually working. She's a double agent for magicians and musicians. And this is because she was she's an alternative harp player. And so she feels
Okay. Yep. But she's an alternative harp player, maybe like a neo folk harp player. Yeah.
and she thinks that the musicians are a little fuddy-duddy with their they're either classical or rock, and
Either way, they're annoying.
Either way, nobody's really respecting the harp.
Respect the harp.
And so she's just gone out on her own and wants, everybody to just be peaceful and heavenly and a little folk-like and poetic and stop it with the infighting. And so actually she has framed everybody, but she is going to come clean that she was actually the murderer. And she set up Cal, because I think Cal's going to, and ultimately she's going to have set him up. And then there's going to be a whole tearful scene at the end where she's going to apologize for framing the hapless stage manager who was always nervous. He just happened to get drunk and talk to this pretty blonde girl,
right,
and tell her
give
her all the secrets, which you're never supposed to do when you work for a magician. You're like, you have contracts and there are like ethics that go into this. You're never supposed to share any secrets. And he gave them all away to her. And so she just used him and set everybody up. And then, so now it's going to come out that the musicians, union is up against the magicians guild. And there's going to be some headlines.
Jessica.
Yeah.
Well done. You weren't lying. That is baroque as hell. I love it.
But here's the other thing. Okay, so why this woman, right?
Yeah.
Why
Jill?
Jill, right? Well, Jill, she went to private school with, and Jill actually plays the harp. And Jill was a better harp player, or was kind of snooty and mean to her as a harp player.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it got personal. She was like, I have to do this thing to make like the world better. Like everybody needs to like each other and like art forms, but I still have it out for this other harp player.
Right.
And so she's like, she's going to go down. She's going to pay for the sins of all these other people, but it's because I hate her. She does have this one blind spot, which is other harp players. Yes. Otherwise, she wants peace.
Peace in our time, except for other harp players. Then they have to die.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Okay. And what do you think? What do you think the odds are that Joey Batey plays the lute at all in this episode?
I'm going to say there is a 2% chance.
Yeah, I was going to say less than 10%, so I'll go with 2%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although, I don't know, stage hands sometimes, like, they do play, like, the guitar on the side, and so it could be a thing.
It could be. Like, he just gets drunk and, like, melancholy plays
good massages and plays the guitar.
We're not drawing on any kind of like college experience here about theater, how it works. No, not at all. Not at all. Okay. All right. Well, I am going to. Okay, my guess on all of this. This is a serious guess. I like you. You went completely baroque, and I am guessing that it was the female stagehand who did this.
Yeah, the one flashing the light.
The one flashing
out
the
in
light.
The theater?
We only saw her twice. She flashes a light and then she runs on stage. This is a big swing. This is either going to.
I don't know if it is a big swing because I was like, wow, that is some blocking that she like runs diagonally across the screen in that last shot.
Right.
So that we have the magician in the foreground. We have Joey Batey pulling down the curtain.
And she's running across the stage.
Yeah, running diagonally across it.
They're doing their best to make sure that she's in the shot and that she's like there, but not trying to draw too much attention to her. So I think it's a bit of misdirection. I think it's her. I think she's doing it because also like who put the card underneath whose seat? Who knows how all that happens?
It has to be
She's
her.
going to know where Jill is sitting. And I think that she is conspiring with Jill's husband to kill Jill and get all the money.
Oh.
So that's what I think is going on with
I
all
bet
of
you're
this.
right.
So I am not nearly as baroque as you are, which like if it wouldn't blow out the microphone, I'd give you a slow clap. Like just well done on that. Like that was some baroque stuff right there. So all right.
Thank you. I love it. Let's see what happens.
Here we go. Let's find out. We'll be right back.
Be right back.
Jessica, I want to take a little break right here. And then I want to center ourselves. I want to get my voice deep in my belly and have it come right from where it needs to be and just be centered so that when we say that I won, we don't just completely shock ourselves out of existence.
And blow the microphone out as you're like, I'm gonna sing, yeah, 'cause I won.
Is this a record? Like this is this is the third episode of this season, and I got it right. Is that
Really?
the soonest in a season that we've ever gotten something right?
Oh, you mean 3 in?
Yeah.
You haven't
third
got
episode
any
until now. Well, I'm just saying in other seasons, had I gotten one right by the third episode of the season.
I don't know. We need to track this somehow. But
sabermetrics for guessing shows. Yes.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you very much.
Jacob.
Yeah.
You can walk up on the podium. We'll give you a little lion. And you can throw it into the audience. I've been watching too much Tour de France.
I get a lion and I get bragging rights for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yes. I was right. It was the usher lady. The usher changed the card where the card was placed to place it under the man's seat because in the past, many years ago, the man was driving at night in the rain and got into an accident and killed the usher's parents. So the usher was serving up a cold dish of revenge. She knew how the trick worked. She changed
she stole the stage notes and learned how the trick worked. And then she planted the stage notes in Mr. Shiplake's
Mr. Shiplake was the guy who was arguing with his wife. And they changed seats, though. So the wife got called. So the usher went and put the card underneath his seat so that he would get called up and be murdered. But his wife and he were arguing because she couldn't see anything. So they swapped seats. So the wife got called up to the stage and she got murdered. But it was the usher. The usher did it.
And it also makes sense why she has that very dramatic cross on stage in that final scene right before the title credits where the murder happens and then she just runs on stage. She could have she's an usher. She could have just stayed out in the house, but she
told people to be calm.
Out. She ran across the stage.
And that is the moment where I was like, oh, it must be her because there was no reason for her to be on stage. The reason for her to be on stage was because she sabotaged the trick by removing a magnet, which would have if the magnet got tripped, all the spikes would have been retracted and they wouldn't have hit the lady. So she removed the magnet, the spikes stabbed the lady and she died. But then she had to put the magnet back before the police came. So that's why she ran up on stage. she was pretending to be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But in all that confusion, she put the magnet back.
Oh, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
thank you.
that's what happened there. But as soon as I saw her on stage, I was like, it's got to be her. There's no reason for her to be there that they're showing her. So
all right,
thank you.
fine.
No, I get a victory lap. I get a victory lap. I get to be all like, yeah, here we go.
Start your trotting.
I think we already have, and it's technically called preening. This is preening. But yes, so before we move on, tell us about the actress who played Iris. What do you know about her?
Oh. So Iris is played by Hannah Hutch, and she does a lot of theater, as the British actors do. She has performed at the National Theatre. She's performed at the Manchester International Festival, at the Royal Exchange. She's performed at Shakespeare's Globe. She's performed at the Old Vic. And she, on TV, she's been in Call the Midwife, this show, and Sister Boniface, and Doctors, of course.
Of course.
Continuing series.
A continuing drama, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, it was a fun episode. I liked that they did a really good job with, like, we were talking about the tone of dread in the opening to it.
Yeah.
And it immediately went light and fluffy as soon as you got past the...
By the way, there was a bard in this episode.
Yeah, but not like, okay, yes. So after this magician gets discredited because he's murdered somebody, he and his daughter, Maggie, are on the street trying to do like whatever magic tricks
Just trying
they
to
can
do street magic in the park to get, a couple bucks.
To get a couple bucks. And like their audience is lured away by a man dressed as Shakespeare who he cites some soliloquy from Hamlet.
He starts doing to be or not to be. He just
exactly.
walks
some
by.
Soliloquy from Hamlet.
The most famous.
Yes, perhaps the most famous speech in all of English theater.
Yes.
Fair enough. Fine.
Yeah. That was kind of he doesn't look like the painting of Shakespeare. That guy did not look like the painting of Shakespeare. He was wearing a ruff that was like very Italian at black and white, like almost like an Arlecchino. It was very weird.
It was like Edgar Allan Poe crossed with Shakespeare is what it looked like. Yes.
I don't know if they just were like, well, we don't want to distract people because if we have somebody that actually looks like Shakespeare walk by, everyone will be like, wait a minute, is this a blast from the past? Is this like a ghost? Is this a ghost story? And so instead they were like, no, just some guy.
Just some guy.
I just liked that there was a bard, and there's Joey Batey, who Joey Batey, even though he's playing a stagehand, in a magician's show because he ends up in the other magician in Anton Duke's show.
Right, because Anton Duke, of course, takes the theater over after this one magician
after Lawrence Cross is discredited. Yeah, and so the final finale scene, the big finale,
right? The confrontation,
where the usher is going to, the police are going to come and take the usher, and they're going to confront her and Shakespeare and Hathaway are going to confront her and be like, you did this, and she runs away and she runs on stage in front of the whole audience, and like the police have to capture her there and take her, and Luella has to take the sword away from her that she takes. Anyway, before all of this happens, you have this shot. She is backstage. The house manager, the usher is backstage counting tickets or some such nonsense. And on stage, you see Anton in a clear box with lights and a microphone. And you see just off to the side, magician's assistant now, Callum, played by Joey Batey, who has long black hair, and he's wearing a black t-shirt, and he's holding his hands like across his across his crotch, and it looks exactly like Chris Angel. He is totally doing a dead-on Chris Angel impression back there, and I know for sure that is what he was doing.
Yes, I will get 100%. I will give you that. Yeah, I do want to say about Anton Dukes though, his facial hair. He's a prat throughout the whole episode. He's a womanizing prat, and people don't like him. So he gets humiliated when he does this trick, and he gets upstaged by Shakespeare
Even though he's
and Hathaway.
Got the light, he's got the sound, and he's still being upstaged by
this usher waving a sword around.
Yeah.
His facial hair it's not even just incredibly like specific and tidy and neat and everything on. It's like his chin goatee, it looks exactly like the rebel sigil from the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, there's a lot
That
going
little
on.
like
I couldn't
curve
figure it
and the
out.
points and everything else in there. I was just like, oh my God, somebody put Star Wars on this guy's face.
Oh my gosh, it could be. Oh wow, I didn't even notice
Yeah.
that. I was like, there's something going on there, but it went by too fast. Oh,
Yeah.
good eye. Good
Thank
eye.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. There's some, and we intended to do a prop bet about
did.
what Sebastian's costume was going to be, and we
He
did
is
not.
so good.
Oh.
He's so good.
Oh my gosh.
He swung in there like, do you want to do undercover? And he like swings in on the door jam and it's just like, can't a man eat his quinoa in peace? It's just like, he's so much fun.
Yes. So in this one, he dresses up like a very rich Eton kid. Who? What's the deal? His wife needs to stay. He's
They're
planning a trip.
their honeymoon and his wife needs to stay at a place that is carbon neutral.
Yes. And he's like, do you have the time? Or what's your budget? Oh, no object. And he's like, please sit down. Or Mr.
Yeah.
Shiplake says that.
Because
he's
Shiplake is a travel agent. So
Yeah.
Sebastian goes in to get some more information
Yeah.
out of
And
him.
I just love, I mean, it's the costume, but it's also the acting.
Yes,
And
100%.
because he's wearing those white pants and he crosses his legs in this just very particular kind of way.
White
He's wearing
polo shirt with the popped
popped
collar and navy blue
and
blazer.
sunglasses.
Yes.
Just, popped on the top of his forehead just a little bit, sitting on top of his head. And his whole attitude of like, oh, thank you so much. Or
He fakes a cough to get Shiplake to leave the room to get him some water. He fakes a cough. He's like, oh, it's just a little something I picked up at Whistler, which of course all of you know because Whistler is just north of Squamish, which is of course where the podcast adjudication board sits.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I wondered though, was he up at Whistler skiing or was he there to like petition the podcast adjudication board? Does he have a
no.
podcast?
No.
What, he got in trouble with the podcast adjudication board? Oh man. Or maybe
gosh.
he's just delivering a report from the UK
Yeah.
side. Like that, I think
about
that's what
the
it is. Yeah.
latest,
He's just delivering.
about
He's updating the UK board.
Etonian podcast.
Etonian podcast.
He's delivering it in person. He was like, I'll swing by and I'll get some skiing in too.
Perfect.
Maybe I'll go to Banff. I don't know.
Banff is nowhere near there, but sure, yes. As long as
But
you're on the
you could
continent.
do both. You
Yeah, you're
try
right.
out the skiing in places in Canada.
So he's doing his podcast ski tour is what we're really saying here.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, he thought
we-
he might do Aspen, but it's super high up there and it's just really hard to breathe.
Can we do a podcast ski tour? Could that be something we do?
Oh.
I would love
Okay.
to do a podcast ski tour. Can you guess how many times Jacob will fall on this hill? Which bone will Jacob break on this descent?
I am kind of scared of skiing, I have to say. I would love to try it, but I had
It's going down a
such
mountain with two little boards strapped to
Yeah.
your feet. Yes, it's scary.
I've done it before. I've also done roller skating and I hit the ground so hard, I'm fairly certain my knee still hurts from that night. It's still, so I would go along with you and we could have I could have lots of hot chocolate
You
while
would wear
you are
fluffy boots
outgoing.
and drink the chocolate.
Yes,
Yes, there
that's
we
what
go.
I would do, for sure. Speaking of hot chocolate,
Please.
there's no hot chocolate in this episode.
You're
But
right.
there is all kinds of food.
There's
and there's
all kinds of business
eating.
around food. Yes.
And we already know that Frank hates fancy teas. He probably
teas like
just
Earl
drinks
Grey.
PG tips and the end.
Yeah.
Or just water that tastes like weeds.
Sure.
Soaked in and I don't mean like Mary J. I mean
Yes.
yeah. And he doesn't like Earl Grey. He probably doesn't like English breakfast. Anyway, so there's a donut that is
Yeah, she shows up with
eaten.
donuts, then she's eating in the next scene that they do. They go to a food cart in front of the RSC building,
And she gets a cupcake.
She gets a cupcake there. Later on, she's on a stakeout and she's eating a bag of. You say it's pirate's booty.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain. It
big
was turned
puffy
away,
things,
but
yeah.
it was purple and it had the white and they were puffy. It had to be Pirate's Booty. Because here's the thing. It's an episode all with Tempest themes. So
Oh my
Pirate's Booty would
God.
be perfect, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
thought. I was like, oh,
100
that's
okay.
adorable.
That is-
So cute.
If that is true, that is so awesome.
I was kind of sad. The theater, we never meet anybody at the theater. Besides the usher, who's actually the house manager.
Right.
Who's
also works
working
behind
backstage a little bit.
Works backstage a little bit. Also works the concession stand at intermission. Yeah, that
Yeah.
usher's doing everything.
And Duke Anton, isn't there a scene in... Oh, no, I'm going to do this again. Isn't there a scene in Tempest where the Duke, like, don't they... I know that... Okay.
Jessica tries to remember Shakespeare.
So Caliban, he's run into by the two drunks. Oh, the two drunks, the two jokey drunks. They get separated from the rest of the shipwreck from the Duke. And
they get all drunk with Caliban.
They get drunk with Caliban, and he drinks for the first time. And then don't they kind of enslave him? Or no, he becomes like... Oh. Anyway, there is a scene that I was like, oh, this is supposed to be an impression of Shakespeare. When Duke Anton is bossing Cal around, Joey Batey, as the stage, the stagehand, and he's like pushing the
in the right spot.
There's a little wagon with magic stuff on it. And he's like, it's not supposed to be over there. It's supposed to be over there, which they could have said stage right, not stage left, but nobody needs to know that stuff. But I thought that was funny that he was, because again, it goes with your whole thing where like having actors pretend to not give a crap about being on stage.
Right. And actively not want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, I'm playing a character that doesn't actually like the spotlight. But you're like,
oh, you actors.
Cute. Adorbs.
So adorbs. This has been Jessica Tries to Remember Shakespeare.
It's a segment.
It is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want me to talk about some other quotes or some other references.
What other trivia did they put in there? What did you find
some
out?
other trivia. That's the word I was looking for. So, many of the characters share names with Shakespearean characters, mainly from The Tempest. We talked about Mr. Pross is actually like Prospero, or a takeoff of Prospero, the magician, with the daughter Miranda, who in this episode is Maggie. Anton Dukes is supposed to be Duke Anton. Yeah, in The Tempest. Callum is Caliban. Iris is one of the spirits who performs in The Mask in The Tempest. I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
I guess they didn't want to be totally too on the nose and call her Ariel or something. IMDb says another delicious reference.
Delicious.
To Shakespeare's plots when Sebastian inquires about booking a honeymoon with his fiancée Olivia. Olivia in the play
awesome.
Twelfth Night, the Lady Olivia marries Sebastian, whom she thinks is his twin.
I totally went over my head.
Yeah,
and I love
too.
That.
Yeah, me too. And then the name of Stefan's travel agency.
Oh no.
Is the Undreamed Shores. And that is another Shakespearean reference. It comes from Act 4, Scene 4 of The Winter's Tale, where Camillo says...
You promised me a Winter's Tale reference.
Yeah, a cause more promising than a wild dedication of yourselves to unpathed waters, undreamed shores, most certain. There's more to that, but...
Yes, I love that. That is fantastic.
That's such a cool name, Undreamed Shores.
Yeah, that is a great name for
waters.
A travel agency. Yes.
Oh, what a Shakespeare. Brilliant.
Shall we do our costuming segment? I think Maggie steals the show with all the costumes in this, other than like the the facial hair steals the show. The Chris Angel moment steals the show.
Yeah.
And then Maggie changes costumes 3 times during this episode. She has lots of great, she has her assistant outfit. And then the next time you see her, when they come into Shakespeare and Hathaway's to like hire them, she suddenly looks like Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, yeah.
She's got like jeans and a leather jacket, and her hair, like she's got a
beret, knit cap beret, big one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's got like her hair around her shoulder, and it's now like in this like loose herringbone ponytail.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced. It looks great. It looks great. But I'm convinced there are several other scenes in the episode where she has that herringbone ponytail. I'm convinced that they shot out of order, and that all like the costumer just did her hair like that one day, and it's like, great, I'm not changing your hair. We're doing all of these scenes today. So they changed the hat, but that hair stays the same.
It could be there were moments where it looks a little ragged, and you're just like, did you pull on that today? Because did like a costume change?
Later. Yeah.
Like, oh crap, it pulled out the hair. Well, I'm not going to redo that.
Yeah, so we can't. No time to redo that. You have to change sweaters, put on a new hat. There you go. The hair's staying the same.
Yeah. So we've talked about the costume designer here before, Claire Collins. She does Sister Boniface Mysteries, Canterville Ghost, because she's worked with Jude Tyndall. She was also on Father Brown. She was the creator there, creator, costume designer. I'm pretty sure I'm not making that up, but she was definitely on that show for like 57 episodes. She also did Hustle, Marple, Miss Austen Regrets, Jane Eyre, Bleak House, The Murder Room, Sherlock Holmes in the case of the silk stockings, not his silk stockings.
Don't judge Shakespeare. Don't judge Shakespeare. Don't judge
Sherlock Holmes.
Don't judge Sherlock Holmes. Oh man, I ruined the joke. I was so all set for Sherlock Holmes to like be wandering around in silk stockings.
I know, me too. As I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute, that actually could be cool. But yeah, Claire Collins, great job, lady. And I love that Luella Shakespeare is always wearing some sort of pink thing and flowers. That she just always looks so cute and fun.
Well, this is a cute and fun show, but how baroque is it? So, Jessica, on a scale from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10 Agathas, how baroque do you think this plot was?
So this was, I would, it's like a 5. And I don't mean a 5 like in a bad way, like it's a C+ or something. It's a solid story. There are lots of motivations, lots of people who could have done it. Yeah. So I would say, when we got to the usher, I mean, you noticed it from the beginning with that girl crossing across the stage, and there was no reason for her to do that. So, I mean, it was obvious, but I mean, we have watched some of these murder shows where they are so intent on the arc of the whole season or whatever that they figure out the murder and like the murderer and like there's
like halfway through they figure it out because the rest of it's just character development for the rest of the season. Yeah.
That's why I guess I would say 5. I mean, I don't feel like it's not baroque enough to be like it's a 6, but I feel like it's average.
No, see, here's the thing. I am going to give them a 6. I'm going to give them a 6. I don't think it's extremely baroque, but I will go above average for them simply because I guessed the usher, and I was right. But like halfway through, they drop some very heavy clues early on that the usher would know all these things. And so I'm like, they're overplaying it a little too much. So literally halfway through the episode, they go and confront the usher about all this. And she's like, oh yeah, this, and this. She like gives explanations for all the things that she knew. And she's like, well, and she had her alibis and started. It's like, oh, okay. They made they made the same logical leaps I did. Like the usher would have known, the usher would have had opportunity, the usher would have blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, they're making it a little too easy. And then they go and they interview her halfway through and they burn that. And I was like, oh crap. Well, I guess it wasn't her because she's good. But then they brought it back around. So that little bringing it back around to that, I think just like that, I'm going to give them one more Agatha for that. So yeah, I'm going to give them 6 on this. Well done with that. So
well
that's
played.
why I'll go with that.
6
for me. You can stick with your 5. That's fine. But I mean,
you make a good point.
I'm also feeling generous because I won.
Yeah. I'm a winner.
Yeah.
You're a winner. Yay. You're a wiener.
All right. Well, we will call it for this week. And next week we will go to more Undreamt Shores, except it's just the next episode of the Shakespeare Hathaway season 1.
It is.
So we'll see you there.
Yeah. Watch it. Check it out.
All right. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
And now we want to hear from you.
Tell us your guesses, your scores, and your suggestions for what shows we should watch next.
Go to our website, cluedunnitpodcast.com, or email us at cluedunnitpodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Cluedunnit Podcast, or on Twitter at Cluedunnit.
And if you like the podcast, please rate us and review us on Spotify or Apple Podcast to help us get the word out. And maybe you'll hear your review read on the show.
Want to be a Cluedunnit private investigator? Leave us a few bucks at cluedunnitpodcast.com and we'll send you a personalized, official Cluedunnit private investigator license.
Officially approved by the totally fake Podcasting Adjudication Board in their secret headquarters in a mountain outside of Squamish.
We hope to hear from you soon,
Because watching TV is always better with friends.
I think there are two fantasy fan tribes in the world. There are the people who think that Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings is your ultimate like bromance / pairing.
Yeah.
And then there are Geralt and Jaskier in The Witcher, who are your favorite bromance pair. And I have to say, I come down on the side of Witcher and Jaskier.
Yeah.
I like them better than Frodo and Sam. First of all, the hobbits will drink you under the table. Let's be clear. Like if you go to a party, the hobbits will drink you under the table. They know how to party.
Yeah.
But I think Jaskier.
But that's a really good point.
Witcher
They actually do know how to party, the hobbits. You don't know that Geralt knows how to party.
Geralt does not party at all.
He smiles, but he's always so dour and down and sort of depressive. And I mean, he's going to get with the ladies, but that means like for any other guy who wants to be with the lady, well, forget it, because they're all following him off to wherever he's going, the hot tub time machine or something.